This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. This is Bazzy's Backdoor Cinema, episode number 9. I am one of your hosts, Duncan and joining me, he had a special birthday. So special that he's still got the banners up, because in Bazzy's house, a birthday lasts a month. He is the man. He is the myth. He is, in fact, getting younger like a Benjamin Button. He's Benjamin Buttoning as we speak right now. In fact, right now, I think he might be 45. He is the Baz.
On Sean Tay, cunts.
Cheers.
Oh, that dirty Van Rouge.
You on the wine?
I'm on the wine, big man. There's hee-haws for it. Yes.
You could literally, you are getting to the stage now that there's certain whiskey stores in Scotland looking like they've been ransacked compared to the plethora.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like Fort Knox mungus amounts. That's stolen for Harry Enfield.
Fucking ridiculous the amount of whiskey I've got now. Honestly.
It's a good job you like it.
Again, man. But that's the thing. I don't sit and drink whiskey like the way I would sit and have a beer or a glass of wine or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It tends to be an occasion, or if I'm with somebody, you or Shed Stew. Do you know what I mean? No, but it's fucking wild. I was at the old Masonic last night, and there was a wee raffle, and
did you?
Because
you didn't win a bottle of whiskey, did you?
I didn't. Do you know? But there was about 7 or 8 prizes, because obviously people had got shit for Christmas. They just bring them in as prizes. Do you know what I mean? And the last one was a bottle of Glenlivet, which is. So the rest was just fucking wine and stuff like that, do you know, I'm just usual stuff. And weirdly, Glenlivet is the one whiskey or the one malt I have drank that I really didn't like.
I'm not a big fan of Glenlivet either, actually, to be honest.
It was weird. My best mate Milky, he bought me a bottle of it, I think for my 40th birthday. And I ended up using it for Whiskey Max one time when I ran out of grouse. Fucking blended, because basically I couldn't drink it, just neat. So that was the last bottle, and I was sitting with one of my big pals, and whatever number it was came out, I had the number before it, and he had the number after it. And I was like, actually, my mate Cliff had seen my Instagram post, and he's like, "You'll be glad you never won it." So that genuinely am. And it was a shame as well, because one of the wee old guys, Jimmy, he'd won like a bottle of fucking white wine or something that he was never going to drink, do you know what I mean? And he was absolutely champing at the bit for that whiskey. And I would have gladly swapped him the bottle had I won it, do you know what I mean? Because my wife would have been happy with a wee bottle of white wine, and he'd have gone up the road fucking cock a hoot with his wee bottle of malt. Wasn't it to be, Jimmy? Sorry, pal. You probably don't listen to this podcast, Jimmy. Still smokes Hamlet. You know these cigars? Hamlet cigars.
I remember Hamlet cigars. I remember the advertising campaign from when I was a kid.
Yeah. Wee Jimmy still smokes them. How he's no deed, I fucked if I know. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I'm sure Hamlet put a lot of people into the ground.
They must have done. They must
fucking
have done.
Hardcore. That's the old school stuff, you know what I mean? Before they were fucking properly.
They're barely even cigars, man. I'm fairly sure they're made in the East End of Glasgow. Do you know what I mean? They're rancid creations. Anyway, just to swing it back to my birthday for one last time, just to milk the bejesus out of it. The reason the decor is still up in here is I'm having another birthday party tomorrow.
Part 2?
Part 2, yes. This one's the family party.
The more subdued one, you think, maybe?
Well, it was certainly more subdued than that fucking catastrophe that we threw the other night.
It's absolutely amazing.
My father-in-law had his birthday just a couple of days ago as well, so we're kind of tying it in loosely for him as well. But yeah, it should be. In saying that, my wife's cousin Pauline and her man Robin, so that's the two actors, they're coming, and we've not seen them since like a good bit before COVID.
Alright.
And Pauline is a very excitable wee woman. Robin doesn't actually drink. Robin stopped drinking a number of years ago, so he sits and he likes the old the nanny state and all that, all the Brewdog numbers. Nice. So we've got a rake of them, but I can see Pauline getting wild out of control with it tomorrow. Like,
how long until the beer pong comes out, Baz?
Well, my Matthew, the eldest of my boys, has been going on. He saw it in the house weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he asked about it, so I was telling him, and he wanted to play it, and he wanted to play it like with like Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Because that's like fucking crack to him. And I had kind of thought of maybe letting him do it, and then I thought maybe we could do it at the party, like one can split between all the different wee cups, let him play. But some of my sister-in-laws are, frankly, are much better parents than we are, and don't let their kids drink stuff like that. So my wife has come up with the idea that we're going to play beer pong, but with chocolate buttons, and the kids can throw the wee things. And then we'll see. I mean, it might go to shit after that once the kids are off to their bed. You know what
I mean? My favourite visual of the entire party was you trying to outpsych your wife, who I thought you were competitive. You're small potatoes compared to your wife, who after scoring a ball in the hole did this. Right, like
that's a wee party trick.
Yeah, that's a visual, by the way, that will only make sense if you've got the video format.
Yeah.
But we were sitting at the side going, "Did you just?" She did that. Yeah, but she did get it in the cup, so she's allowed to do that. You're allowed to gloat that way. No, it was an excellent night. We enjoyed it very much, and you, like I say, you scored big time on the booze. So every bottle that was opened, I was just like that. Can't wait till I turn 50. The countdown is on. Give me it all. No, it was excellent. It was a really, really, really good night. You did receive a little present though. A little present laminated and
I did, yes.
Larger size.
I was very excitable as well. This is probably going to screw everything up because it's in video. By the way, is my sound coming through? Because my little line is flatlining here.
Yes, your sound is coming through.
And yours is pulsating like a fucking...
it is picking up.
What the fuck is wrong with this? I hate all this video casting. It's not for me.
Don't concentrate on any of that. Just concentrate on the vibes.
Thief in the night. Yes, so... obviously, I received a plethora of wonderful presents, and I really genuinely wasn't expecting everybody to turn up with presents. When you get to 50, you kind of stop giving a fuck about that kind of stuff. But there were most of them were whiskey, as you've already recounted. Not that I am ever going to complain about that. But there was one oddly little wrapped one, which had come in with you guys, and you wouldn't let me open until Scott arrived. Now, Scott was... I think he was the last one to get here. He had to come on his own because his wife was... she was watching their viewing. So Scott had just driven through on his own, and I specifically wasn't allowed to open this present until then. And when I got it... I don't know if I said at the time what I thought it was, because it was a kind of A4 sized thing. And it wasn't the heaviest of items, and I thought you had maybe got the picture done of us at when we met at the the horror convention thing that the four of us had met at, Scott and Liam being the other two that we're talking about. And I thought, maybe they've had that framed, I can put it up in my wee office and all that kind of stuff. And then I opened it and it was this weird kind of cartoonish horror scene, and there's fucking wording on it. I meant to have it here, but it basically said something along the lines of turning 50,
Yeah.
still a virgin, and apparently what it was supposed to say was still a Fright Fest virgin.
So much better than didn't.
Because, to cut a long story short, you guys have all chipped out and are getting me tickets to go to Fright Fest because you guys go every year and I have never been for varying reasons. And over the past few years I've got increasingly more envious of the whole thing. But I've never had the massive swinging cojones to say to my wife, I'm off for 2 days to sit in a darkened cinema, enjoy the kids and your time with them, and I'll see you soon. So,
sweaty horror fans.
But obviously that's now taken out of my hands. I am the innocent victim in all this. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
It's been given to us. It's been forced
upon
me.
It's not as if you can't go. I mean,
Exactly.
It'd be like refusing a present grafted in love.
Exactly. But I believe... I was going to say I dropped to my knees. I didn't. I think I dropped to my knees when I saw that you had bought me The Leech on Blu-ray.
You did, and there was another part of your gift that I specifically told you not to open until you'd opened the bigger one because you were to take that to Fright Fest, but you don't actually physically have to take that to Fright Fest. You can eat that while you were watching movies.
Awesome.
But so you got the Leech, which you have watched, and we'll swing back to that in a second.
We'll swing back to that. But when I realised what this funny little graphic that Liam had done up represented, I believe I screamed something along the lines of, have you cunts bought me tickets to Fright Fest?
But your voice was about 6 octaves higher. You were like, you ever seen those videos where the Beatles arrive in New York and the high pitch? It was kind of that level. It's like, you cunts bought me Fright Fest tickets. Yeah, we have. And you gave me a powerful hug, like a hug that was a couple of seconds longer than it should have been, and very intense. I don't know.
Slightly damp, just slightly damp.
I'm just hoping the movies live up to what I think you've built up in your brain, because it can be very hit or miss.
As I said at the time, I don't give a shit, Duncan, because I'm probably going to sleep through most of it, and I am thankful just for that.
I've lost you. You're back.
I'm back. Yay! Did you hear me?
No, I thought you did. I thought you went full on kind of
dramatic pause.
I thought it was the awkward hug. You'd made it in video format.
No, what I was saying was I don't give a shit what the films are like, because to be quite honest, I am just going to sleep through the vast majority of the 2 days in that cinema, and it's going to be glorious. It's going to be sleep of the just.
You'll get to experience what it is like to be a 50-year-old man smuggling booze into a cinema so you don't pay the extortionate price at the kiosk. I sussed it last year. I worked out that bourbon is the same colour as Lipton's iced tea. So I had 2 empty bottles of iced tea filled up with bourbon, and that's what went in with me in my bag. So if they opened it, they'd be like, this guy's brought in iced tea. What a fine, respectable young gentleman he was. Then all you need to do is buy the cola.
I'll definitely fall asleep if I drink. Just saying that straight up, man.
You say that, it's a weird event. Time doesn't travel the same at Fright Fest. It's very, very, very strange. Although, in saying that, by the end of it goes on late, and by the end of it, there's always people asleep. So,
am I thinking one of the listeners, is it Boz, comes up to the Glasgow one?
Boz has come up a couple of times, so he might be on his way up. At least 1 or 2 of the listeners are usually there. And yeah, the thing is, you never know. Yeah. And Liam's the guy behind making sure that we get the good seats. Because he has a job where he doesn't have to diligently do anything that requires him not to be able to just sit at a computer screen and physically that's what happens when you're your own boss. You get to do that, so he will make sure, hopefully we get our seats back from last year and we don't have to sit in front of that very loud Canadian woman who ruined everything. It was just a very, very, very horrible experience for her.
I don't like the sound of her.
Yeah, well, we're kind of hoping that she'll fuck off. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. But you did mention The Leech, which brings me on to, before we get, by the way, we're talking about Barbarian on this episode. And there is a reason. We'll get to that.
If you're interested at all.
When we get to it, we'll basically tell the people why you chose Barbarian more than me on this one. Not to say that I dislike it, but it may have had a stronger hit with you, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, you've done a bit of horror watching. One of those was The Leech, which I got you because it's got Jeremy Gardner in it, and we love Jeremy Gardner.
Yes, we do.
And so you finally got a chance to sit it. I mean, it's after Christmas now, and it's technically a Christmas movie. I am super curious because you posted you were watching it, and then not a jot after that. How did you get on with The Leech?
I absolutely loved it.
Great,
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's my favourite of his films, but I am obsessive about Jeremy Gardner, and you know what I'm like about The Battery, and I loved After Midnight. But I genuinely, in fact, he only acts in this one as well. Anyway, didn't he?
It was. It's directed by Eric Pennycroft, who I interviewed back in August off the back of The Leech playing in Fright Fest. I can't remember how he said he got in touch with Jeremy Gardner, but I think it was the idea of working with both him and Graham Skipper. Graham Skipper's the other guy in it.
He plays the priest in it, yeah.
And he himself is a filmmaker and has been in shitloads of. You will have seen him in tons of stuff, specifically stuff that Joe Begos has done. He was in.
The film I thought had quite a Begos vibe to
it. It does. The colour scheme is very Begos.
Yeah.
But yes, so you enjoyed it.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It didn't actually pan out the way I kind of thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be a lot more kind of subversive and evil intent, and there's not. It's just a fucking drunken fuck up ruining this guy's fucking life, and then he completely derails. There's some lovely dark bits in it.
Oh, yeah.
There's some great humour in it, and Gardner, he brings that to every film. That's what I love so much about the guy. It's the way he introduces humour to a horror film. I just think he has a beautiful balance when it comes to that, so it doesn't detract from the film itself, but it gives you that kind of wry chuckle at points just when you need it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was some real dark kind of fucking bits in the movie itself, kind of thing. I think it was probably it was quite late at night, but I ploughed right through that movie. It wasn't one of the ones where I dozed off, kind of thing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely one I would. Entirely. The boy that plays the priest, he actually, I had to check. I thought it was Zach Galifianakis or whatever his fucking name is. You know, the boy from Hangover.
Yeah.
I was like, that can't possibly be him, man. He's like fucking big nowadays. No. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah, Graham Skipper's been on the indie horror scene for well over a decade now. He did a ton of stuff with. So he starred in a lot of Begos movies. So like the early stuff, right through, and he's always kind of made a return there or thereabouts, went off and did his own thing. Actually was involved with, remember Stuart Gordon, who did like Reanimator and stuff? Yeah, so Stuart Gordon transitioned into movies and then started doing like theatre productions, which is where he was originally from. And he started doing things like Reanimator, the musical and stuff. And then Graham Skipper was involved with all that as well. So he's been about for ages. And when he was announced to be the main dude, and originally, and then I heard that Jeremy Gardner had signed on, I was like super excited from that point, because I don't think I'd ever seen them. I think they're both in Bliss together, but they don't have a scene together.
Bliss, that's the one about the artist girl, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Joe Begos as well. So
they're Gardner is the boyfriend or something in it, isn't he? Yeah, I've seen that. It's on Shudder over here.
Yes, I'm sure Graham Skipper's got a small role in that as well, but they're not in the same scene. But yeah, it's just really well casted. It's wonderfully dark, and uncomfortable in bits, really uncomfortable. And I kind of dug it for what it was, but ain't no way there's a Jeremy Gardner movie out there that Baz hasn't seen, so we rectified that shit.
Damn tootin'. I also thought that the girl in it was really good. I really liked her. And she was a real good kind of foil to Gardner in it, actually.
Yes.
She held her own against him, which isn't easy. What's her face? Grant did it. Is it Bria Grant?
Bria Grant,
After Midnight with him. She managed to kind of hold her own with him. She does that kind of famous scene in the middle after midnight. She does that big long soliloquy. about why she left him kind of thing, and it was just fucking jaw-dropping to watch. This girl was very good as well, because he must be hard to act with, because he's like a total fucking force of nature. Do you know what I mean?
I think he's just very much... I think he... It's weird. I think almost every movie that we've seen of him is very much just a version of him. If you know what I mean? I think he just... I don't think he stretches far for stuff. I think he just really can just accentuate qualities that he has and make them... I think that's why all his roles are really believable. Every character he's ever played, I have either met someone like that, or it wouldn't be too much of a push. They're never not believable characters, if you know what I mean. Which is a quality. It's a very difficult thing to do, because no two roles have been the same. Which is why I love him so much. I think he genuinely is one of those guys where you just think he should be cast, even if he's not directing movies, he should be cast in everything.
100%, man. 100%.
Yeah. What else you been watching? Anything else in the interim?
I watched a lot of stuff over Christmas, and I am trying to remember what it frantically was. I didn't actually get a lot of Blu-rays this year for some reason. My daughter is normally the one that buys me Blu-rays, and she normally buys me a ton of them. But for some, she's gone different roads this year. A lot of the Blu-rays I got are films I'd already seen. Like, my wife bought me mid-90s.
Nice.
It's a film I want to have. It was on streaming, and I've got a funny feeling it's come off streaming now. But it's a film,
think you're right,
that I want to have a copy of. She also got me the first season of Doom Patrol on Blu-ray. I can't remember. There was a couple other ones I got at Christmas, and again, I'm sure they are films that I've seen. Over Christmas, I watched the new Top Gun film.
Don't shake it. I can tell in your face you loved it.
My wife was body in that movie. She thought it was amazing. She didn't think she'd actually seen the original, so we watched the original, and then
right into the new one.
We watched it.
I think my older brother has now seen that movie like 12 times.
Yeah, you did. I remember you telling me. I don't think it was quite that many, but I remember you telling me a while ago.
He's obsessed about it. Like every other weekend, he posts that he's watching it again. I'm like, that, just watch something. It's like, this is like, listen, the way you're talking about it, you're acting like it's PCs or something. It's no PCs, right? None of this pish.
The other thing, which I finally managed to finish, it took me quite a while, was Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
I'm curious. My Cabinet of Curiosities is waiting to find out what it was about this series that didn't connect with you.
I honestly don't know. Do you know, I will say, my favourite of the lot was the last one.
That's the Jennifer Kent one.
Yeah, the ornithologists and your man for The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, yeah, directed by the director of The Babadook.
I did really enjoy that, and I thought it just set it felt really nicely balanced.
Yeah.
Just the creepiness of it, the whole melancholy feel that it had to it and everything. I really dug. And where it was pitched, I think it was in the 50s or something, that one was set.
Yeah.
It just all flowed together really well, and for some reason I just get really taken up in the story, and I really enjoyed the last one, but the rest I really toiled with. The one that I really toiled with that I did not like at all was the one about the artist.
Something's
Newman's model or some fucking thing.
So that's it's Pickman's model.
Pickman's model, that was it.
Pickman's model is that's a Lovecraft story.
Yeah.
So that's the one with Crispin Glover in it.
Yeah, I did not enjoy that at all. Did not enjoy that. No.
Well, my favourite one of the lot was the second one. So the second one where with the body snatching alien. And the autopsy.
Yes, the autopsy. The autopsy was quite good. I think I said that the last time.
Yeah.
We spoke about it.
Absolutely adored that.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's technically the third one, I think. Absolutely adored that. I thought that was dark as fuck. Like, see the bits where and genuinely creepy. Like the stuff with the kind of zombie movements of the dead bodies is just really unnerving. And then the concept of it as well. You know, this kind of almost thing like Parasite that will just wait things out. And ultimately it'll get what it wants.
I like that at the end. Yeah, that all kind of comes out at the end, and then he has to come up with this horrific plan in order to
and it doesn't spare the audience, which I really liked. But like you're see, there's some that worked really well for me, some that I enjoyed but understood there was flaws in there, and then some of the other ones that I didn't enjoy. The Lovecraft one, which was basically, was it the witches something?
Was it the witch's house or something like that?
Yeah, the one with fucking Ron Weasley in it.
Yes. And it was
just
dead sister.
Yeah, just really, really, really slow. And I kind of found that like kind of missed the mark. And I knew you wouldn't enjoy it, but I really enjoyed the Panis Cosmatos one, where you've got like Big Peter Weller just getting out his face and drugs, making everyone take drugs.
What one was that?
It's the one that looks different from all of them. It's the penultimate one. It's the one where he invites like all these brilliant people to his mansion.
The invitation.
And he gets totally fucking wasted, and he's got them all on fucking drugs.
I was quite enjoying that one, and then I just felt it totally shat its pants at the end, kind of thing.
Yeah. It was a weird thing because like that's like, looking at that, it's a Panis Cosmatos film. It's shot exactly like he shoots his movies. All the techniques are there, and that end was like, it was a bit that confused me. Also, it's the one that doesn't look like anything else in that series, like at all. It's like it sticks out like a sore thumb. But I did enjoy it. I just felt the ending could have been a tiny bit stronger. I was kind of like, oh, we escaped, and maybe it did as well. Shrug.
The other film that I remember watching actually, which I forgot about, was the Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, so good.
I loved it. I thought it was great. Man. I thought it was great. And you know what?
He's not made a bad movie now. Like, genuinely, he might be like, that's in Bruges. The Guard's fucking incredible. 3 Billboards. I
loved 3 Billboards. I didn't realise
that's him.
Person,
I think he's four or five movies that he's made. And you ever seen The Guard? You never seen The Guard?
No, I've never seen it in Bruges.
Right, well, like that one, that's wrong. Right, you need to rectify that. It's fucking incredible.
Oh, let's not this fucking conversation again.
you need to just get that out of the way. But The Guard's a great follow-up.
I did love 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I loved that film.
Dude, 3 Billboards is fucking incredible.
But no, Banshees, I thought it was great. And I had a wry smile about halfway through it when I realised that I was just totally digging this mental film. And I came to a point, I had a realisation that there was nothing going to... There was no answer to this film. It is just a film about a guy that decides he can't be fucked with his best pal anymore.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yep. And there was... When I had that realisation... It just made me like it even more. Yeah. And I wryly smiled about you because I thought, do you know what? 8 or 9 years ago, I wouldn't have got through the first 20 minutes of this movie. Do you know what I mean? And if I did manage to sit through it, I would have fucking hated it.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was fantastic. I had Big Gleeson, your man...
Colin Farrell. Yeah.
And the wee laddie that was in Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yeah, Barry
Keoghan or something like that.
Keoghan or something like that. Yeah.
Because he's Irish as well. I thought he was brilliant in it as well. The sister was great. Just the casting was brilliant in it. Some of the scenes in the pubs, the characterisation of the Irish folk in it, was very funny. Just darkly humorous. I just thought it was great. I couldn't tell you why to watch this film. I just thought it was brilliant.
He's great at telling those stories. I think all these movies have that. They're all inherently, they have a dark streak of humour through it.
Yeah.
But they're all of them are really surprisingly watchable, and they have a good rewatch value. Mm-hmm. Like I've lost track of how many times I've seen In Bruges.
Right.
And I still find it like as dark and sweet and funny every time I watch it. I think he's just got a really, really good balance on what he does.
Do you know, weirdly, I think I have kept away from that off the back of Scott and his carry on with that movie.
It's not a horror movie. It's not a horror comedy.
I think, knowing now that it's the same guy that did Banshees and did Three Billboards, I think I'm definitely going to need to watch that.
And like, follow up with The Guard. The Guard is Brendan Gleeson plays a kind of local beat cop in Ireland, and Don Cheadle comes across from America, and they have to work together on a case, and it's fucking awesome.
Right.
It's really, really, really good because it's in buttfuck nowhere in the middle of Ireland. It's excellent, and like all the stuff is great. Which is I'm glad that you checked it out for sure. It's worth saying that for the people in the UK, it is available on the Disney Plus.
It's Disney Plus.
As is this movie.
Disney Plus is mental now, by the way, for the films.
In Scotland, in the UK it is.
Yeah.
In America, they don't have. I don't think Barbarian's on Disney Plus or Banshees is on Disney Plus in the States.
Yeah,
but
and
it is here.
Sorry, I've just remembered another movie I watched just the other night was The Menu, which again,
how fucking good is
Disney
that?
Plus.
Yeah, but how good is that movie?
I will say I nodded off halfway through that, but I watched the second half the next day again. And no, I did. I really liked it as well, kind of thing. Maybe not as much as the Barbarian and Banshees and that, but it's a great film, and again, very, very dark.
Yeah, very
dark. There was a bit about the kind of mocking of the food snobs. I just loved. Do you know what I mean? It just rung of my dad to me at points. My dad having been a chef. But I mean, so that's three of the kind of
put
darkest,
things in perspective.
most weird off the wall films I have watched probably in the past year have all been on Disney Plus.
And that's all less than 2 months after they were in the cinema.
Yeah.
All three of those movies.
Yeah, that's right.
Are like November, December releases in cinemas, and then by January they're on Disney Plus. It's a fucking weird time to be alive right now, honestly, because I genuinely wanted to check out The Menu at the cinema. The times were never right. The first week it came out, I couldn't attend, and then after that, they were all shite times. And the same with Barbarian. Barbarian was a blink and miss it at the cinema up here. It wasn't in the cinemas even.
See, weirdly, my wife saw The Menu at the cinema.
Yeah.
Her and Shed Stew's wife had gone to see it. Actually, I think Shed Stew's wife thought it was going to be a bit more of a horror than it actually was.
Yeah, it's more satirical than anything.
I remember my wife coming home and saying, "Yeah, it was quite good." She's like, "You would probably quite like it." But yeah, I love that Anya Taylor-Joy.
She's fucking incredible, man.
She's
absolutely incredible. She makes every role look really fucking easy.
Yeah,
and I think that's
totally.
the thing now. Like the versatility of her, just in the space of a year and a half, she did that chess thing that got her huge amount of
Queen's
credit.
Gambit.
And then I've still watched it.
That is genuinely brilliant.
But she also did if you look at last year in terms of cinema, she had 3 movies out, I think. One of them was The Northman.
Yeah, that's right.
Which you forget that came out last year. It's like fucking nuts.
I think probably the worst thing she did was the New Mutants one, and she was one of the better things in the New Mutants movie.
And to be fair, that was shot 4 years ago or something.
There was about a 3 or 4 year gap between her filming it and it coming out kind of thing, and she was one of the few kind of highlights of that film, if you like. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, no, absolutely. She's phenomenal, and she was really good in that as well. And your man Fiennes was great as the chef character in it.
Yeah,
and
everyone's
some
like
of the
this.
characters in the place. The table. There's a table of 3 guys.
Yes.
I don't know if they're supposed to be like
the banker guys,
angel investors or something like the banker kind of guys. And there's one of them. I knew his face, and it dawned on me about 20 minutes in. He was in Broad City, which is a sitcom that I watched. Alana Glazer and Abby. 2 girls living in New York kind of thing, and it's just dead off the wall. It's filthy humour. It's like Sex in the City, but for the kind of millennial generation. Do you know what I mean? There's a fantastic pegging episode. It's absolutely fucking hilarious. But anyway, one of the guys, one of those three bankers, plays the gay Colombian roommate of one of the girls. And he was one of my favourite characters in Broad City because he's not in it all the time. You know, he's one of the kind of supporting cast. And every time he's in it, he's absolutely hilarious. He's just got a dead effeminate wee lisping Colombian accent. It's absolutely brilliant. And to see him playing a kind of straight character, and that tickled me a great deal as well.
It's a weird thing as well because they were like, they're talking about, there's plenty of things going around going like that. The menu, the movie that, you know, finds performance like overshadows his most evil role in cinema, Voldemort. And I was like, was that his most evil role in cinema, or was it in Red Dragon where he played a serial killer who murdered families and ejaculated on their dead? You know what I mean? Isn't that a wee bit worse? Not that I'm saying Voldemort's not a scary dude, right? But he is kind of, oh, you're the boy that lived. You know what I mean? Very kind of
like a fish.
Yeah, fish face. Or is it the guy who's built like a fucking brick shit house, just goes around murdering people?
Yeah.
Kind of thought that, and then I was like, maybe they don't know. He's also, by the way, I just forgot, he's in In Bruges. And one of my favourite scenes he plays a guy called Harry, and Harry's the crime boss. Guy's not in it much, right? And there's a bit where he's talking to Brendan Gleeson. This won't spoil the movie, but it's great. He's got like a proper kind of Cockney accent, and he's at home in his big mansion, and he's talking to Brendan Gleeson on the phone. They ask Gleeson to do something, and Gleeson basically he's like, "Listen, Harry, you're a cunt. You've always been a cunt," like that. And he's talking like that, and he hangs up the phone on him, and he's like, "Hello." And he starts fucking smacking like really rage, smacking the phone. And his wife comes through the door, and she's like, "Harry," and he's like, "What?" And she's like, "It's an inanimate object." And he's like, "You're a fucking inanimate object." Like, that's just fucking absolutely fucking raging. He's really, really good. I like him. I'm glad you checked it out. I made my end of year list, so because I thought it was fucking great. As did, here's another segue, as did this movie that we're going to be talking about tonight. See how we did that? It's Barbarian. That is the one that we're going to be covering. Ladies and gents, we are doing a video format one, which means there will be a muted version. When I say muted, as in like there's going to be transparent, translucent version of the trailer in there, so it doesn't get yanked from the fucking internet. But you're going to see the trailer when myself and Baz return. We're going to be discussing Barbarian from 2022, a movie that Baz openly admits terrified the shit out of him, and I want to know why. I need to know why, Baz, to get to the bottom of this. We're going to do it right after this.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
This is 476 Barbary, right?
Yeah, I'm renting this place.
No, I booked it a month ago.
Are you sure you have the right place?
Yeah. What am I supposed to do?
Why don't you come inside and we'll call these idiots. Why don't you just crash here?
Oh, no.
I don't know if you got a great look at this neighborhood, but I don't think you should be out there by yourself. It's dry and there's a lock on the door. By the way, I'm Keith.
Tess.
You take the bedroom and I'll sleep out here on the couch.
God.
Keith? Keith!
476
seem overwhelming. But with a little practice, it can soon become a pleasurable experience. This is perfectly natural.
And welcome back, ladies and gents. You just heard something. The trailer for Barbarian from 2022. This is written and directed by Zach Krieger. That's a real name. It's a real American name. Krieger? Like, I'm sure there's a character called Krieger in something, but I can't remember what it is. It was like a cop or something.
Krieger?
Krieger.
You like that Kramer from Seinfeld?
No, he's different. He's tall and weird. No, Krieger. I'm sure there's been many characters in American cinema called Krieger, but it rings a bell, Baz. But he wrote and directed this. Now, he himself has done, from the looks of things, a ton of kind of short and various other things. But this is him making his way in the world today. Takes everything you got. Sorry, I don't know why we did that. Where everybody knows your name in Barbarian. We have, as casts go, Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, Justin Long, of course. We long for some Justin Long.
We do.
Matthew Patrick Davis, Richard Brake, Kurt Braunholer, James Butler, Sophie Sorensen, Rachel Fowler, J.R. Esposito, Kate Nichols. There's a huge cast here for a movie that doesn't have a huge cast.
Yeah, that's who are all these people?
Brooke Dillman, Sarah Paxton. Is Sarah Paxton in this one? Sarah Paxton does the narration in the nursing video. Wow.
What?
Sarah Paxton.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Sarah Paxton?
No.
Sarah Paxton is the chick in The Innkeepers. And,
uh-huh.
Cheap Thrills. She plays the wife of the guy in Cheap Thrills who's paying the people to hurt themselves.
Right, okay.
I have not seen her in anything in years, but she is the in the nursing video. She does the narration of the voice, so it's not actually, don't physically see her, but it's her voice that's in it. So that's kind of taking me a little bit back. And there's some other folks. Synopsis for this one, as listed on IMDb. Short, sweet, and I kind of like it because it doesn't give anything away. Which, by the way, we're spoiling this movie, right, folks?
Yes.
Got to stress that right now. If you've not seen Barbarian yet, Disney Plus in the UK, please go away and check it out. It is a movie, and I heard it before I watched it, so I made sure I adhered to the policy of the less you know about this movie, the better the experience watching it shall be.
100%.
Cool. The synopsis is: a woman staying at an Airbnb discovers that the house she has rented is not what it seems. See? That's how you do a non-spoilerific spoiler.
That's what this film is about.
Like, that is all we're saying about the movie right now, as an opportunity to once again stop listening if you haven't watched the movie, right?
And genuinely do.
Yeah. I would agree.
In my opinion, this film is it's really worth checking out. If you are into horror films.
Yeah.
I mean, just without giving any of my review away, this film scared me a lot more than I have been scared in quite a long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't the type I thought it was going to be. Quite an arty, cerebral film. It's not particularly. It's pretty much a straight up horror movie.
Oh yeah.
Watch this film, get the shit scared out of you, have a good time. But as you were saying, Duncan, don't try and just go and watch the film, because if you listen to this, it'll be ruined for you.
Yeah, we're gonna, very quickly in our discussion here, we're gonna give away two massive plot points that will essentially ruin the surprise of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's not like has a twist ending. Ta-da! This movie weaves and turns in a good way, but some of those turns are whiplash inducing because they genuinely are not what you're expecting. So we've given you plenty of warnings now, listeners. If you have not paid attention, then fudge you because we're going to do it. We're going to get right into it just now. But I'm curious because I knew the reputation of this movie. I want to say this may have played Fright Fest. I think this was one of the ones that played Fright Fest back in August, and it was doing relatively well off the back of that. A lot of people were kind of excited for it. I'd heard some people say it maybe wasn't the movie they thought it was going to be, and not in a good way. And then we had to wait months. It played in America a good 2 months before it made its way over to the UK. It had the tiniest window in cinemas in the UK, and not when you should put it on. I don't know, like October. No, instead we got it in November.
Right.
Perfect time to drop horror movies. Right in that November, and then it disappeared really quickly again. And I was in that kind of, oh well, I'm just gonna have to wait now until whenever it appears on a Netflix or something. And then literally the end of the year, it appeared on the Disney Plus, and so I got a chance to check it out. And I have thoughts. I'm not there with you fully. But
Okay.
I don't dislike this movie by any stretch of the imagination. I do like I put my cards on the table. This movie, like 90% works for me, right? And the 10% that doesn't work for me doesn't annoy me. So you know what I mean? It's not like this 10% undoes all the hard. It doesn't at all. It just it falls into a couple of trappings that are maybe more well trodden fodder for me in horror compared to the rest of the movie, which was actually quite fresh. Like stuff that I've seen done in other movies, just not done this way. And as a result of that, I was kind of on board with it, and then it ended in a surprisingly conventional way overall that I was like, all right. So we did a lot of really cool fancy things to end up with what would be a stereotypical kind of horror ending, which, I mean, it's fine. It sticks a landing, but I was maybe expecting something a little bit more ambitious. But that being said, I think we can. The biggest factor of this movie is essentially it's set over 3 timelines, which
it's. I mean, everybody talks about the 3 acts.
Yes.
For any successful film. This is the most 3-act film I have ever seen in my life.
It's up there with From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's got
to
that
the point when it goes from the first act into the second, when I'm like, tell me this isn't a fucking like what do you call it film? Anthology.
Oh right,
I was
got
like,
you.
let's see if this is a fucking anthology, and that this has nothing to do because it takes a little while for the second act to bring you, so you can start to see the lines cross, if you like. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely, as you say, there's kind of 3 timelines to the whole thing.
Yeah, so there's the initial timeline, which is set before the end timeline of the movie.
Yeah.
Then there's a flashback to kind of explain the setup to the house that you're in, and then you return to the timeline of which would be the end of the movie essentially, and you follow the parts through from there. What I loved about the first part specifically is that it subverts a lot of expectation. Right, so on the base level, it puts you in a movie experience where it's very small scale, very insular. We have a woman who's shown up. She's staying in an Airbnb overnight.
Yeah.
Because she's got an interview in the morning. She's rented out for the weekend. She shows up. She can't get to the property. She is, she's phoning the number for the person who owns it, can't get through, and someone actually answers the door, and it's Bill Skarsgård, and he says, no, I've rented this property. They both check it. They've rented it off different sites, and there's been a conflict in terms of the scheduling. And Tess, played by Georgina Campbell, who is our final girl essentially in this movie, she decides that she's going to go find a hotel, but there's some conference in town. She can't do that. And Bill Skarsgård basically says, why don't you spend the night here? And so that first thing is, what is Bill Skarsgård's intention? you know, is he like, has this been a setup? Does he own the house? Is it like you're kind of set on that way, and it builds a particular way where you think it's just simply all right, he's fucking with her, he's abducted her, basically, he's doing something to abduct her, or at worst, like that's the worst case scenario. Like the small case scenario, he's fitted cameras in the toilet so he can watch her pee, you know, something along those lines. And you quickly find out that in the basement there is like a hidden door.
There's a hidden door. And
the hidden door takes you into like a labyrinthian series of doors and rooms underneath the house. It's very Buffalo Bill. You know what I mean? It's very like put the lotion in the basket. And there's a room in there, and the room has a bed, which no one could pay me enough money to lie on. It's fucking vile. And a camera. So it looks like snuff's been taking place there. And of course, Tess thinks, you know, that this might be Bill Skarsgård that's behind this. And even when she's like, we need to get the fuck out of here, and he's like, listen, I'm not going to, I want to find out what you saw, because let's be honest, I don't trust you myself. So I'll go down there, and then he vanishes, Baz, and then you're like, all right, this is the setup. This is to lure her down there. And then she goes down. There's another door, which takes him even further in there. And then even up to a certain point, Skarsgård is, when we finally find them all wounded, he's still playing it like he might be playing possum. You know, he's luring her into like further,
because he doesn't want her. She starts screaming, we need to go back, we need to get out of here, and he's saying, no, we can't go that way, you need to come this way.
And she won't listen to him. Of course she won't listen to him, because, to be honest, the movie even sets up, from her point of view, why would you trust this guy? And then, out of nowhere, some monster creature shows up, crushes his head against a wall, Skarsgård's out the movie, and then that's that act done. Let's talk about that first. Let's talk about the first act, because it really is. In itself, it feels like it could be. I see what you mean about an anthology. In fact, it's a really good way of doing it. In itself, this could be a feature-length horror movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way it's shot, the ideas and concepts. It's two steps away from being like a 10 Cloverfield Lane. You know what I mean? About, like, you know, you need to stay in the bit. You need to stay in the house. You need to stay in the bit. You can't go out there. It's dangerous out there. And it's played really, really well. I think I love Bill Skarsgård at the moment. I love everything he's doing in the horror genre. Since he played Pennywise, he's been on a fucking tear, right? And this is another great example of it. He's a kind of weird-looking dude, right? You know what I mean? Like, and he's quite charming.
He's particularly weird-looking in this.
No, what I mean is he's charming. Well, he's a very charming guy. He's a good-looking guy. He's very charming. But he doesn't have to really do much, like, for him to start being a bit awkward. And I kind of like that. You know what I mean? I like that performance. I think he'd be... See if they remade Psycho again, for example. You could put Bill Skarsgård as Norman Bates, and I think that would work really well. You know what I mean? I think he's just got that quality.
I'm going to tell you where I came from with this movie. So, I had heard the name.
Yep.
Right, now nothing against you, but when you're friends with you and Scott and Liam, right, you hear about films constantly.
Don't know what you mean.
I watch more films and I go to the cinema far more now than I have done at any other point in my life.
So what you're saying is we've made you a cooler guy.
Yes, 100%, because cinema dwellers are cool people. And, you know, I mean, but I watch far more of it. So, sometimes I struggle to keep up when you are talking about films now. I'd heard the name Barbarian. I couldn't remember anything about it. Then I was told, somebody said something, the premise about this Airbnb thing, and I was like, oh no, I remember this. Did I see a trailer about it, or did I talk to you about it? Couldn't remember. Anyway, decided I was going to watch it, and for some reason, I had it in my head that it was going to be quite a dark kind of art housey. I had Baskin vibes in the back of my head for some kind of reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, kind of. Anyway, sat down to watch it, and this first act, if you like. It's just so well done because you flip and flop the entire time. You're fairly convinced that he's going to do something horrendous to this girl. Do you know what I mean? And you feel like you're getting taken along because he breaks down the walls between them and she kind of drops her defences a little bit and all that, you know, and then she finds this fucking door and takes her in and he disappears and all that. And one thing I had noticed just at the kind of end of this act, so the kind of big reveal that happens about a third of the way through the movie, the soundscape in this film is unsettling beyond belief. And then you pair it with the kind of visuals when they find this whole labyrinthian underground network thing underneath this house. Because the house is just a perfectly normal house. There's one wee door that people are slightly concerned about and should be. But everything's been tunneled out the rock. There's that hideous fucking room you were talking about. And it just seems to... You have to go deeper and deeper into this thing, and there's just this feeling of dread. And I think I said to you and I said to my daughter, by the time when he finally comes scuttling out the dark, shat myself. Right. Then he starts this whole, no, we can't go that way, you need to come with me. And I'm like that, oh my God, no, wait a minute, he is still, it's like you say, everything in this first time just throws you back to know he is going to do something here. And then this figure just lurches out the dark and I full on shat myself. And then what she does, or what this character does, you see she batters his head off the wall till it's fucking jello. And I realised at the end of that, as it then cuts to this seemingly completely different fucking movie, I realised I was sitting like this. Now, you'll only get this if you're watching the YouTube stream, but I was sitting like that. Like my jaw was hanging open. And I was doing that thing when I had pushed myself back into the couch a bit. I have not done that in a long, long time. The visions of that creature coming out the dark, it flat out scared the shit out of me. And I told my daughter as much of Larry's the first film in ages that's actually made me... But it had done what horror movies used to do to me. It had built it up and it had just got me into such a place that when that hit, it hit like a fucking freight train.
Because you're not expecting
you know
it.
I mean? No.
Like the last thing you're expecting in this movie, the last thing, is some sort of mutated creature coming out of the shadows.
This prick's been telling the truth the whole time.
Yeah. Like
you know
even if he was telling the truth, it'd be like, I don't know, a group of snuff filmmakers or something. It'd be like Hostel. Some guy in a fucking leather apron.
Yeah, because there's cages and all that. And like cages and stuff all through it.
So it'd be something like that.
Grimy.
It would not be like it wouldn't be a creature. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing that was really clever about it. The director, I was doing a bit of digging around, the director said that he felt that horror movies had become a bit stale because they followed the same formulas over and over again. So what he wanted to do was break down the narrative structure of a movie by not focusing on one time period, rather giving a position, giving the next position, but during that jump back to give some context before coming back to close. Which I think is smart. He's not the only one that's done it, but I think it's clever. I think the placement of it is really smart. We talk about that 3-act structure that you mentioned earlier on. It's divvied up in such a way that you get like a crescendo. Every time you get this big crescendo, and then it takes you somewhere else, and then builds back to another big scare, and then builds down, and then back to a scare, and then it's off to the races for the end. And I think, as an audience point of view, by the end of that first segment, when Skarsgård's face is like mangled against a wall, you need respite. And is there anything more kind of, everything's safe in the world than a car driving along like a Malibu beach with like young doesn't appear to age ever, Justin Long, who's still whatever he is taking is the same thing Tom Cruise is taking, because this guy has been in horror movies now. Well, he's been in movies now.
And Ralph Macchio.
It really is. He's been in movies that I can remember dating back now over 25 years, and he still looks the fucking same.
He does. He really does, man.
It's absolutely nuts.
He's in Dodgeball, for fuck's sake.
He's in Dodgeball. I know. He's in Dodgeball. Crazy stuff. Like, when you think about it now, he looks the same age. Oh man, and Ben Stiller looks fucking ancient. It's weird. It's weird. But yeah, so like we switched to what will be the second story that's going to go over the final timeline. It's going to be split, but Justin Long is an actor, and his pilot TV show is about to be picked up, Baz, except he gets a phone call as he's driving along. You know, the only thing that needs to be playing on the radio, by the way, he cannot sing. Whatever the song is that he's singing along to is awful. But what should be playing is I'm Walking on Sunshine by Casey and the Sunshine Band. Because it really is like, I used to think, baby. Like, he's like totally in the best mood ever. And then he gets a phone call, and it turns out his co-actress maybe thinks that she's been raped by him.
Yeah. I thought he was a filmmaker.
No, I think he's
Is he an actor?
I think he's the actor. He might be the.
For some reason, I had it in my head that he was like a director, and this was one of the actresses that he'd.
It could very well be. Could very well be.
I don't know why I thought that, but I did.
Essentially, he's like, and I think this is the director playfully. And this is where some of the I've seen criticism of because people will moan about anything. I've seen some people saying that it is cynically trying to be woke. I hate that. We've spoken about this before. I fucking hate that word. It's the laziest 4-letter word in the history of the world. Like, anyone that tried woke is such a non-thing. It really is. It's just like cancel culture is not a thing either. It's fucking nonsense, right? It's all shit that people spew out there because people like buzzwords and they don't like substance, right? And
I disagree with that to an extent, but with this film, I don't think that's what it's doing.
Well,
I don't
think it is either.
It's pointing a finger at things that have gone on.
Yeah, I think not. I think it's using
not
it as
anything more than that.
I think it is as superficial as it's using it as a plot device to get Justin Long to the house. That is literally. I think there is no. I don't think the director was like, I need this reason to get him.
Yes, let's blow this wide open.
Yeah, the whole thing. The whole thing about this is, it's to underpin, fully underline that Justin Long is a shit character, right? And the reason he's not a nice guy, right? And he never is throughout this entire movie, right? Right to the very end, he is not a nice guy. And the clever thing about Barbarian is it subverts your expectation. The subversion of the expectation is you met a guy at the start of the movie who you perceive to be a threat, having done nothing at all to be a threat. And by the second half of the movie, you've got Justin Long's character, who has all but admitted to rape. And he, you're rooting for him to be the hero at the end of the movie. It's very, very, very smart. I
also thought there is a bit where he eventually, against the advice of his lawyer, contacts the girl and essentially admits to it all
on our voicemail,
on a phone call. Yeah, when he's drunk and he's been out with his pal, and I think he uses the term, "I'm a persistent guy" or something like. Yeah, she said no at first, but I'm a persistent guy. It's horrible. And it's kind of weird because at the start, when because it's Justin Long, you're kind of rooting for him. This. He's had this horrible accusation made against him, do you know what I mean? But it turns out it is all fucking true, and as you say, you're actually rooting for this one, and he's an absolute wrong'un.
Yeah, by the end of the movie, he shows whereas Skarsgård, I was trying to help her. Don't go that way. She's up that, it's up that way. Come with me. But the movie's angled it in such a way that you mistrust him. Whereas the guy that you know for a fact is a fucking scumbag, you kind of want to trust him, or you want her to go with him to be safe and all the rest. And it's, like I say, Barbarian does a lot of things that I think are wickedly smart, wickedly smart. But I think it's purely a plot device. I don't think it goes any deeper than that. And some of the stuff that I read online, I think people...
I would agree with you.
I think people are just thinking too much of it. You know what I mean? Genuinely, they're getting too involved with it. And to preface what I was saying, I don't think woke culture is what people think woke culture is. I think it's always existed. I think every generation has a new view on how the world is, and the older generation struggles to entertain that. I think if you go back, almost every generation, it's 2 steps away from kids being disrespectful for veterans that came back from wars. Because you went over there, I think it's always been there. I think
took from what you said,
social media though, and just generally the ability for anyone to post anything that is dumb as fuck, you know what I mean, is what amplifies it. But I think it's always been there. I don't think it's a new concept.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly the same. You know, folk going about, it never used to be this dark and horrible, this world. Well, it did. It did. It's just you didn't know what every cunt in the world was fucking doing because of the internet. Do you know what I mean? It just like somebody's been fucking raped in Chechnya. Do you know what I mean? And it's getting live streamed on fucking Twitter somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
I now know exactly when militias are storming embassies in Brazil. I don't know if I would have known that like straight away as it was happening in real time 25 years ago. I don't think I would have. I think it would have been some sort of news.
Up in your bedroom reading Edgar Allan Poe, mate.
You know it, Baz. With the cool kids.
With the cool kids.
With the and a goblet of red wine. With the cool kids.
A plastic goblet. It looks like gold. It's
like
plastic.
Spray painted gold. It's actually a mug, but I just called it my goblet. Had goblet written on it. This is my goblet. But yeah, so like I love that aspect of it. So Justin Long, he owns the house, right? This is the conceit. He actually owns the Airbnb, and because this news is now broke that he has.
I didn't get the connection. There's a bit he's talking to somebody on the phone because he's trying to get liquidate some money.
Yes.
Or free up some money rather, and he says something about I've got the properties in Michigan.
Yeah.
And we know that first scene had been set in Detroit.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, he owns the fucking house.
Yeah, yes.
But it was only at that point, and that's about 15-20 minutes into his scenes.
Yeah.
I'm like, right, okay, so I see how this connects. Because up till then, this was a completely different film.
Yeah, like it does, and it's like you see, it sets it as almost like a different story. Because you're like, it's whiplash, because you go into that and you're like, well, are we not going back to what we're doing? Why were we him now? So Justin Long's trying to liquidate assets, and one of which he's going to get rid of some of his properties in Michigan, but the press is also trying to hunt him down, so he's thinking if I go off the grid. I do love that conversation with his lawyer where he's like why are you in Michigan? He's like, well, I'm just here to do those things like that. That's not how that's going to be seen. What it's going to be seen is you fled the state. You know what I mean? Like come on, use your brains. So basically he goes to the house. The house should be empty according to him because no bookings, but because there's been mistakes in bookings, there's people's items in his house. I love he phones up the person that's managing it for him. She couldn't give a fuck, you know what I mean? And she's not interested at all. And so while he's there, he's searching around, and of course, does he not find the door down and the extra space? And instead of thinking, this looks like a rape dungeon, what he's thinking, Baz, is this is extra space. I can market this property for more because there's more space in it.
It's something to do with what you can put down as the square footage. It's clearly an American thing, because if we had a torture sex dungeon under the house, it would not increase the value of your house. But he is actively excited by this. Do you know? It shows you how fucked up Americans are. You know what I mean? Well, you've got a 40-foot hewn cut rock staircase going down the way.
Yep.
Hot damn! Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
My father-in-law was my lawyer. He'd have been like, "Brick that, hang up that, and let's never fucking mention it." Do you know what I mean?
I'm very keen to put an offer in, but my own question is, how big is your rape dungeon?
Yeah. I mean, multiple rooms.
Oh, excellent.
Well, that changes things.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
So anyway, he's doing the measuring around and all the rest.
Yeah, it's basically, he's walking down the rape corridor,
like unperturbed
with a tape measure, which is very funny, it has to be said.
Unperturbed by everything that's going on around him, and of course, he like ends up falling in a pit and meets Tess, who's been there for.
Turns out it's still alive.
Yeah, for a while she's been in there, and
I reckoned about a month, I think.
It's not. It can't be like ages, because she's.
No, it's weeks.
Yeah,
I think.
And she's in there, and we get a bit of the rules here about this creature walking about the place. Thinks that she is your mother, and
yeah, because Tess, the girl from the start,
yep.
she has managed to survive by kind of figuring out what she needs to do
to survive
in order
to
not get her head caved in against the wall, which has allowed this thing to mother her.
To feed her out of what can only be described as the worst heat in the history of cinema.
This horrendous fucking visual where the creature kind of, it's like this grimy bottle and this big massive rubber teat gets forced down through the grating.
Yep.
And they have to suckle from it.
Yep.
I mean, fuck only knows what's in that.
I would assume her rancid monster breast. Well,
that's what you have to assume. I don't want to assume that, though, Duncan. That's why I'm just going to say I don't know what's in it. And again, that again was that it's things like that bring the freshness, I think, to this film, because you've never seen that before.
I can say hand on heart, I've never seen rancid tit juice before in cinema.
Do you know this is where that goddamn Wrong Turn reboot should have gone.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Cults. Well, who needs a cult?
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Give us this. So basically, she lets him know shit has gone south here. We don't know why she's under the house, but she's crazy and she's trying to mother us and all the rest.
Just be your child, just drink the milk.
And he like, Justin Long is a dickhead and he's not listening. He's not following orders, and he gets knocked out. And as the movie is setting things up here, at that point we then get the flashback. So we jump back to what, the 70s? 60s, 70s?
No, early 80s.
Early 80s.
On the radio, they're talking about Reagan.
You're right.
It was the start of the Reagan era.
So it's like early 80s, and we have, essentially, we're introduced to Richard Brake, who appears on the screen, and the first thing that happens whenever you see Richard Brake in a movie is you remember that Baz did a great impression of him from the second Rob Zombie Halloween movie, where he just repeats the word fuck 100 times. In the ambulance. Remember that? You've forgotten already.
I do not remember that.
I remember it, like...
I thought the first Rob Zombie movie he was in was 31, so...
He's in the second movie. The ambulance flips over and he's impaled and he's like, fuck, 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 fuck. And the blood's coming out his mouth and he's like, fuck, fuck, fuck. You did a great impression of it. It's so great that it's actually fucking, it's Men in Black mind wiped you completely.
Apparently so.
Yeah, he's been in shitloads of things. I suppose nowadays.
One of the things that we hadn't actually mentioned up until now is this house is in like one of these horrendous.
Why would you book an Airbnb here? Honestly.
So weirdly, I kind of followed this. Detroit had, at one time, the largest Masonic Lodge building in the world, right?
Did not know this.
And it's like the rest of Detroit after the kind of collapse of the motor industry and everything that went into terminal kind of decline. And it was saved by Jack White of the White Stripes. This is true because it turned out Jack White was brought up by his mum. His dad had nothing to do with him, basically, and his mum was a very poor single mother trying to bring him up. And the people that ran the huge Masonic building in Detroit gave her a job. Because it had like movie theatres and stuff in it. It's not like the lodges in this country. Do you know what I mean? It was like 20 floors and, you know, it had fucking saunas and everything in it. It was like a huge thing. And they gave her a job and made sure that she always had a job in the place. And Jack White never ever forgot this. Mm-hmm. And when it was on the verge of collapse kind of thing, he stepped in. And actually, while it does still operate as a Masonic building, but it also does there's a lot of concerts, like big concerts take place in it. It's a big wedding venue now and all that, and he's kind of turned it around. So this got me interested in Detroit, and I find this whole kind of urban decay thing really interesting. Like at one time it was one of the richest cities in America, and there's these, you know, huge areas filled with streets, and it's just abandoned houses, literally abandoned, and they are beautiful family homes, and they are just rotting and falling to bits. Mm-hmm. And the one thing we've not mentioned is this one house that she is in, because she arrives there in the middle of the night. When you see it during the day, it is like Beirut.
Oh, aye. Like, there's a bit where...
80s Beirut, do you know what I mean? And just this one little house sat in the middle of it all.
There's a bit earlier on when Skarsgård's still alive and she comes back from her interview, and a homeless man comes running up the street.
Kind of chases her.
Yeah, and like trying to tell her not to go into the house. And of course she doesn't listen, and of course she should have listened because her perception.
Yes, because she thinks she's about to get raped.
And the audience with her. Yeah. Like we've all seen Tenebrae. We've all seen the start of Tenebrae, Baz, where the homeless man tries to attack the woman. Remember that scene? No, there we go. It's like years wasted on this show.
Probably
honestly.
Nothing to do with the plot though. But yeah, so when this flashback comes round,
you're a prick. It has absolutely nothing to do with the plot. You're right. You're a prick though for pointing out.
When this flashback comes round in Barbarian, in the good film, you see, what's your man's name again?
Which one?
The one that was Doomhead.
Richard Brake.
Right, we'll just call him Doomhead. When you see him, like say at the beginning of the 80s, which is just at the start of the decline.
Yeah.
His neighbour, Midwestern America, and the Rust Belt and everything. Yeah. And his neighbours, you know, because so everything, it's all white picket fences, lovely houses, they're all out mowing the lawn and the beautiful sunshine and all that. He's in his big car. And the neighbours are like, I think they're moving out. You know what I mean? The wife's worried about the way prices are going, and you know, they're talking about black people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's kind of, you've got this urban creep coming in now and all this kind of stuff. And I found that really interesting as well, just because of a kind of personal. Yeah,
but also it gives the perfect backdrop. Like trying to ground this.
It does, yes, of course.
It's the perfect backdrop for what this guy's going to do. We see him leave his house, travel to a local supermarket where he picks up baby supplies because his wife is about to give what he says is a home birth. So he gets everything, rubber sheets, the works, and then comes back, has a conversation with his neighbour. But in the meantime, he's also following a woman. And
see, I picked this up differently for you. I don't know if you got this quite right.
All right.
I don't think there's a wife.
No. He doesn't have a wife.
Yeah, he's buying all this stuff because he wants to.
Well, he's already got one in the basement.
Kidnap women and lock them up in the basement and do whatever it is.
So he's already kidnapped. This is like Don't Breathe, right? So he's already kind of like, except Richard Brake conceived. So he's got a woman in the basement already who he's got pregnant. And this is why he's buying all the baby supplies. But while he's out doing it, he's already following his next victim. He's a serial killer, so he's like he's already following his next victim, and it's very BTK because he's a security guy, does like home security. So he goes in, he's already casing the place, and he's already set in the way that he's going to be able to come into the house, and then goes back to his house, and then essentially we go through it. His house is not nice inside; it's like almost like a hoarder a bit with all the stuff that's around, and then we see him go downstairs and we find the kidnapped woman that has one of his victims, and you get that's a snapshot, and you're probably thinking to yourself, all right, so this house has always been creepy. But it's always been creepy. Right? But why would they show you in this movie if it's not related? And of course, we swing it back to like the kind of end times of the movie itself. Due to various mishaps and distractions, Justin Long manages to escape, and he finds Richard Brake still alive, bedbound, as a very old man now. It's like fucking grandpa from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Deep in the bowels of this kind of labyrinth that he's created, kind of thing.
And he's in there, and he's like, Justin Long sees him and is trying to help him. And you get this great scene of like he's pointing over, and he's still pointing over at this drawer. And the reason he does that is because Justin Long's like, listen, we're going to get out here, we're going to phone the police are going to come, this is all going to, like, we're going to get you rescued, it's all going to get blown up, and he's like, we're going to save you, and he starts pointing to the drawer, and while he's doing that, Justin Long finds some videotapes and then starts putting them in, because of course this is what you do while there's a giant creature running around the bills of the building that you're in. Puts it in, and it's basically rape and torture videos. And you realise that
the old guy in the bed.
Like him in the bed. And what I love about this is Justin Long is aghast that this man would rape a woman. You know what I mean? I'm like, God, he's like, I can't believe this. You know, how fucking dare you old deviant
monster.
You fucking absolute savage. You don't have a Hollywood career. And of course, the old man manages to get in the drawer and he produces a gun. Justin Long thinks he's going to shoot him, but no. Richard Brake finally takes himself out of the movie because But I think he would have probably died of old age, but as soon as he mentioned the cops, he's like, fuck this. I ain't going out like that. Shoots himself, and then Justin Long now has a gun and the opportunity to escape, which he's going to fully take, not avec test though. Like every occasion that he can like scuttle away and save himself, he does in this movie, all the way right through it, which once again is the kind of the joy of seeing this, because whenever they come back together and he starts to help her, you think this is the redeeming thing he's going to do, only for him to undo it like really quickly, without much thought. Meanwhile, we get more story of the creature. So the creature is essentially one of the rape babies.
I did. This was one of the few bits I struggled with, because so it turns out the homeless guy that appeared to chase her into the house turns out to be a homeless guy who lives in the area, and he knows exactly what this house is and what's going on in it and all that kind of stuff. So
he's never moved away. He's never left.
He saves Tess at one point, and he then explains to her, what's going on. Yeah. Sorry, why did we? I haven't done a tangent here, and I've completely blanked.
Like mutant creature, how she was born.
So he then starts to explain, and he's like, and they all started breeding with each other, and so. We've gone forward, say 40 years. The maths just doesn't add up. So you're talking about third or fourth generation inbreeding, because when you see this creature, do you know what I mean? She's like all the malformed teeth and all that. Like that doesn't happen. She's clearly
older though. She's not like ancient, but she's like over 20, for example, we would say.
Yeah.
Right. So that's half that time anyway. So like it would have required maybe 2 generations at the most. And this reminded me of the thing that made me laugh about it the most when you start to think the math is I never saw it, but you once told me, because you stuck with the TV show a lot longer than I did, you were talking about The Walking Dead, and you're like, you've got Pollyanna McIntosh like walking around with her own kind of devolved language.
Dialect.
And it's like, it's only been 3 years. Like, it's
And now you're living in a fucking dump. And you're talking all weird. What's that about?
And this is what was going through my head. I was like that. oh, this doesn't make any sense. Like this is not what inbreeding looks like. It takes, once again, this is where Wrong Turn got it right. It takes generations to do this.
Yes, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or something. But, right, it's a conceit in the movie. Listen, you know what? I'm not going to pick it too much. I'm just going to roll with it.
That's exactly what I said to myself. I'm like, right, you need to go over that because you're really enjoying this film. And
there's a monster creature in it, and I'm cool. I'm cool with the monster creature being at it because it gave me one of the twists earlier on in the movie that I wasn't expecting. And so very much like yourself, I'm like, let's roll with it. Let's see how we get on. Essentially, this is all building up to like the end times here. In the meantime, we realise that basically this, I'm assuming old man Frank in the fucking basement here, the serial killer, couldn't get up enough to rape the monster daughter, so she's never going to have a baby. And as such, all these videos that play throughout the house, which are all these old-fashioned videos about, you know, like how to rear a child, essentially, and all that kind of stuff. This is constantly playing through. So she wants a baby, which is why she is kidnapping people, because her dad kidnapped people. So in her brain, that makes sense. But we managed to get out of there, right? And like, once again, the cops show up. The cops are fucking useless in this movie because God bless America, Baz. So they're fucking useless, and we're setting up the end times here. Like, I love we get the homeless guy going like that. Listen, I've been here for it. She's never found my hiding place, and as soon as he says that, he gets fucking shredded.
Burst through the wall.
He's dead.
Like the fucking Hulk.
It's like a scene from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. His fucking heart is literally ripped out his fucking chest and held in front of him. And they make a run for it, and they go to a water cooler, and of course, let's go up to a bit that we kind of get out. It's a horror movie. And we have Justin Long and Georgina Campbell going up this water tower, and they get to the top, and of course, she's coming for them. And there's a struggle at the top, and we have the opportunity here for Justin Long to do the right thing, Baz. And we, as the audience, were expecting him to do the right thing, even though the entire movie is telegraphed that this guy never does the right thing. And during the struggle,
you're just looking for his redemption
all the way through this bit, like a character who genuinely doesn't deserve it. And the way he pays back the audience is during the struggle, he manages to push both Tess and the creature off the top of this giant water tower, assumedly to their deaths. Yeah,
but the bit is, so Tess by this point is injured.
Yes.
And she is kind of hanging on, like at the edge of the thing or something like that. And he basically says to her, he says, I'm really sorry. I can make it out of here, you can't, and he just kicks her off. And then the mother creature thing, and this is where, and I think I did say it gets a bit bonkers at the end of this movie, but I had such a good time with this film that I was.
We're in the 10% for me. We're in that bit that I mentioned earlier. We're in that bit where, but very much like yourself. I don't think it's particularly strong, but I don't hate it. You know what I mean? It doesn't ruin the movie for me. It's just not as interesting and not as good as the previous 90% of the movie, which is fine. 100%. Which is like, it's not enough to. We've talked about this before. Like, I love the last broadcast. I fully admit that the last 10 minutes of the last broadcast undoes, through the technique of switching to a different perspective and a different technique of filming, undoes a lot of what that movie has done before. But I roll with it because I'm having fun. And this is the same. Like, they both go off to, she jumps off to save her. Essentially, she's underneath her when they hit the ground.
Yeah. So she takes the force of the hitting the ground.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. But okay, right, that's fine.
It's not how physics works.
Yeah, you're not a cushion, Ben. You're not like a big, massive airbed. But anyway,
Like,
we'll move on.
I'm no physics expert, but I'm sure Isaac Newton said that gravity doesn't work that way.
And I'm fairly sure your rib cage would have punctured every fucking
like the force
organ in her body.
Yeah. Meanwhile, though,
You're
earlier
like-
on in a struggle, Justin Long, being absolutely fucking useless, dropped the only weapon they had down to the ground, down to the pavement. So that gun's down there. And of course, Long's like, I've made it. I've finally fucking made it. This is wild. Probably still going to sell this house. I've got this survivor story that might get me into all the rape shit that's happening. And yeah, things are all coming up. Justin Long. And he makes his way down, and she's still alive. Tess is still alive. Not only is Tess still alive, the creature's still alive.
Neither should still be alive.
No one's alive, Baz. And yeah, like
They should be a stain by this point on the fucking road.
a fucking mark on the ground. And Justin Long gets his comeuppance.
He does.
He dies horribly because he's Justin Long in a horror movie, which means he dies horribly. He's kind of like Sean Bean that way. Like they die in movies a lot, and he dies. And Tess puts the creature out his misery and walks off, surviving the day. And some mid-credit sequences, we actually see her kind of limping along, trying to make it out, the last survivor of this. And that's Barbarian. We're going to do it in reverse because I do really want to finish on the super positive review, which is yours, because the internet's mostly on your side. This has made a lot of top fives for the year. It's made a lot of top positions for a lot of people. A lot of people I know have this as number one with a bullet for 2022. It works really. I like a lot of this movie. I like the structure of it. I like it. He's not the only director to use a structure like this, but I like the way he's doing it. I like the way it commits to certain ideas. Is it a siege movie in the house, like a home invasion? Is it a monster movie? Is it a serial killer movie? It kind of is all of
Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah, is it? It's like that Rob Zombie guy's in here. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of everything of the above, but never commits to one whole thing, which is kind of the fun of it, and the structure of it's broken up enough to make you have fun. Very much like yourself, the sound design, I fucking love in this. It's really, really well done.
Wild, man.
It doesn't overdo it with like music, but at the same time, it really plays at those quieter moments and the creaks at the bottom of the house.
Yeah, there's just stuff always going on.
Yeah.
And you kind of start to become aware, like, what is all that fucking noise about? Yeah. But it just throws you right off your kilter kind of thing.
Yeah, because you're constantly expecting the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the way through it. So I loved that. I thought the acting was really, really good in this one. Georgina Campbell is great. Bill Skarsgård, like I said before, put him in anything that I'll watch it. And Justin Long is Justin Long in this movie. He's not really doing anything that he's not done in other movies, but he's very, very good at it, and it works. Yeah. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. The reveals are good. The practical effects are fucking awesome, like the gore effects, and it's a really, really, really well done. The creature design is really good. My only gripe, if it can be anything, is maybe the last 10 minutes, which is the go big or go home thing, which I'm not. The thing about it is generally, and this is why maybe I'm not so militant against it, I don't have an ending that I think is better. I've got my way that I would end it, but to be honest with you, we'd probably end up in a very similar place. I don't think it would add any value to the movie or detract it. So the way they ended it is fine. It's just, it gets a bit outlandish by the end. And it whips along. It's just over an hour and 40 minutes. It doesn't feel an hour and 40 minutes at all. And that's due to its pacing. It's really, really, really well done. And like, as horror movies go from 2022, it never made my top 5. It did make my top 10. And I stand by that. Like, watching it the second time, which was yesterday, it held up. And that's a testament to the movie. A movie that relies on so many twists and turns shouldn't work as well the second time. Impact, and it didn't for me. If anything, it was more enjoyable the second time watching it, because some of those elements made me kind of sit and going, all right, I can't wait. And it is the very definition of a movie you want to be in the room with friends that have never seen it before, so you can watch their reaction.
Yeah, get to see their reaction.
Yeah, it's Rec that way, you know what I mean? Where you like when you watch Rec with someone that's never seen Rec before, you're waiting for that body to hit you come off the railings. You're counting down the seconds because you know as soon as it happens, the fucking shit's hitting the fan. And so yeah, I enjoyed all those aspects about it. I don't think it's a flawless movie, but it's a really interesting movie, and it's a ton of fun. And the guy's clearly talented. Krieger he's a really talented director, and it did well. This movie did well both critically and commercially. It didn't break the bank or anything, but it more than made its money back. Got enough buzz about it that I'm fairly sure if he wants to do something else, similar scale or a little bit bigger, he's not going to have any issues, getting that off the ground.
Please, for God's sake, don't do Barbarian 2, whatever you.
Well, this is the thing that's worrying me now. We're starting to, in horror, we're hitting a couple of trends that make me uncomfortable, which are very kind of 80s orientated. The 80s were very much if a movie's a success, we're already greenlit and we're getting that sequel done.
Let's grab that blueprint.
Well, very early next week, myself and yourself and the big sexy Dave Bomb are going away to check out Megan,
yeah.
which within 3 days of release was greenlit for its sequel. You know what I mean? And I'm just with a movie like Barbarian, I'm with you, is a one and done. That's what makes it special. I don't need the only way to physically do this now is do a prequel. I don't need that prequel. I don't need the Richard Brake story of him torturing and raping women. I don't need that movie. And hopefully, fingers crossed, both the studio and whoever owns the rights to it agree. I've got to think the director, because he wrote and directed it, he must have
how would you end that movie?
Well, it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre prequels, Baz. All you do is you take it up to the point that the first movie kicks off. Frustrating.
He is the bad guy. He needs to lose, and he doesn't really lose till he's 90 odd year old. He goes in he'd have, do you know what I mean?
And that's kind of part of why I like that in the movie. You know what I mean? It's like this guy got away with it. He basically got away with absolutely everything completely on his own terms, which is like we never get to fully see his crimes. We get to see the reaction, obviously, just along watching one of the videotapes, but it's pretty horrific. And then this guy gets to take the easy way out. It's kind of like it's another interesting element in the movie. But yeah, no Barbarian 2. I don't think there's no way to do anything, even a prequel, that would make me remotely interested to watch it. I think this one exists now. It's the same reason why when they announced Don't Breathe 2, and I was like, let's not do this. You know what I mean? Because that first one is a good movie. That second one wanted you to cheer for a rapist. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. In fact, I'm not going to. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a ton of fun. Really, really entertaining. Very much worth your time. Hopefully you have watched it before you've heard us talk about it. I will hand it over to you, Baz, for a kind of final summation overall of Barbarian before we bring this one into a close, buddy.
Yeah, no worries. I think just for my over-abiding feeling about this film is it's the first film in such a long time that has genuinely scared me.
Yeah.
And just creeped me out and entertained me. It's just, I want to call it an old-fashioned horror film, and it's not, because you're right, the guy's tried different things and he's kind of tinkered with it. It definitely has a modern feel to it. But it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, which I would have been okay with. But I think it was better that they went this way. Yeah. I am a bit like yourself. The ending is a bit mental. And it's so far away from that first kind of act.
Yeah.
But I just kept saying to myself, you are enjoying this film. You're having a good time watching this. Don't get hung up on this. It's not the worst thing you have ever seen, so don't let that ruin, you know, your overall feeling of this whole movie kind of thing, you know.
It could be Green Inferno, look on the bright side.
Exactly. I'd said to my daughter just a couple of days after, because there's a bit, I think the mother kind of creature in the reveal of her had a kind of vague Martyrs kind of vibe to it. Do you know what I mean? Just with the visual and the way the kind of jarring sudden appearance of it and all that. So I'd said to my daughter, I was like, listen, if you're looking for a film, you know, that might actually scare you, because Tess she's not maybe as entrenched as me. Yeah. And this is my daughter Tess, not the Tess in this movie, confusingly. But she, you know, like she was talking to me about it at the time. She was like, you know, there's girls in her work and that asking about horror films. It's like, yeah, but have you seen this? You know, and it turns out actually there is a young girl in her started in her work quite recently who has seen a lot of shit. The girl was like, have you ever seen Martyrs? And Tess was like, yeah, my dad showed me Martyrs. But I had said to Tess, if you're looking for one that's genuinely going to give you, like, creep you and give you a bit of a scare, because she comes to me sometimes and I struggle to find films that she's not seen that are genuinely going to scare her. I was like, check out that Barbarian. By the way, it's on Disney Plus. And she came home a few days later for her boyfriend and she fucking made the poor guy sit through it. He's not into horror films.
Not in there at all.
And apparently he started playing on his phone, like playing a game. And she said, I think by the time the bit that really got her was the bottle feeding thing for some reason. It must have just struck a kind of chord with her.
Absolutely vile.
Apparently, by the time it got to that, he was underneath the fucking. He pulled the quilt thing up over his head and was basically playing his phone under the covers, saying to her, "What's happening now?" Good fucking guy. So yeah, but I've not had a decent scare in a while now, and Barbarian really did give me that, and I liked so much about the way the film was put together and all that I find it quite easy to look past the kind of issues around maybe the timing of the creature and then the whole water tower bit towards the end. Yeah. Like you say, I have seen worse endings to films.
Oh God, yes, come on. Yeah.
But yeah, it maybe didn't live up to the first hour or so of the movie. But all that being said, I would still highly recommend it. I don't do the lists and all that, but it would have landed very highly for me. And I think the fact that it wasn't a particularly cerebral film and I was expecting it to be so, was quite a pleasant kind of
you can relax more
change for me, you know what I mean, because sometimes I sit down to watch films and I'm an hour in and go like that, oh my fucking god, what is going on here, this is, you know what I mean. And that is the first time I think maybe I've had that kind of reverse effect where I was expecting to have to get right into the guts of this thing, and it's not. You can't just sit and watch this movie and get the pants kind of scared off you and just have a good time watching it.
Well, we do.
Yeah, it works on levels. It will work for people like you and me and all the other podcasters out there, but it'll work for folk that just want.
Oh, your average cinema goer, like this plays well. This plays well to like the normie crowd for sure, for absolute sure. Let's do grades then. So it's 1 through 5. 1 is hated it, 2 is didn't like it, 3 is liked it, 4 is really liked it, 5 is loved it, 0.5s are allowed. I'd give it a 4. I really like this one. Like I say, I don't think it's necessarily one of the. It's not the strongest horror movie that I saw, or even just around that one there. But in terms of like a movie that I would I've watched it twice in the space of a couple of weeks, and it worked well both times. Like it didn't lose anything on that second watch. When I've seen other movies that do similar kind of twists and turns and plot devices and reveals that on a second viewing drop like can drop a point on that
Yes,
second
yeah,
viewing.
yeah,
This
yeah.
one didn't drop at all. I'm coming in with a 4 out of 5. What about yourself, Baz?
I would push it a little higher. I would go to a 4.5. I really, really liked the movie. I can't feel I can give it a 5 just because there was a couple of little things. But yeah, it's a good 4.5 for me. I have been recommending it to other people because it's surprisingly accessible. And easily available. A lot of folk in this country have that Disney Plus kind of thing, do you know what I mean? So you can get your hands on it, you can watch it, and if you genuinely just want a good horror movie, go and check it out. You will enjoy it, and you will. I would challenge people not to be scared at some point during this movie.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, 4.5 for me.
Very, very nice. Well, there you go, ladies and gents. Rather than, like, because I found it very quickly that the kind of interlude thing that I used to close out the show may use music that is copyright. So rather than put that in there and take a break, let's just bring it right through. So you've been listening to the podcast Under the Stairs. Ladies and gents, this has been Bazzy's Backdoor Cinema episode number 9. I know what you're thinking to yourself. What's going to be number 10? It's a landmark episode. What are we going to do? We've not decided. It'll be something cool though, because whatever takes our fancy, Baz.
It's all good.
Masters of our own domain now. And now people are out there going, does that mean that when Duncan does his Fright Fest episode, Baz is going to join him? Potentially. We'll see.
You never know.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But we've done Barbarian for you, ladies and gents. Thanks very much for checking this episode out. Like we said, in the UK, it's available on Disney Plus. In the States, it's available somewhere. That's all I can give you. I can give you no more information than that. It's available somewhere. Check it out. Baz, another one put to bed, my friend. Whew.
Indeed.
We have Megan on the agenda for early next week. I'm actually super excited because I have Megan early next week. I'm going to see that Enya's Men.
Yeah, I saw this. You messaged me about this today. I've not heard anything about this movie. Don't know anything about it, but it's playing at the Glasgow Film Theatre. So.
Yeah, well, it's playing at only independents. Otherwise, we'd all be going to it. Kind of like old school folk horror sort of things. Directed by the dude that did Bait. That kind of seafaring, kind of weird, surreal, dark, almost handheld documentary thing from a couple of years ago, which was excellent. And he's back. Bait.
I think I've seen that.
It's really, really, really. You'd fucking love it. And so it was like 2019, I think, and this is his follow-up, and it's getting a lot of critical buzz about it. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and just feeling horrible about life because apparently it's really uncomfortable and unsettling. But there's so much stuff coming out. There's literally so much horror coming out in the first 4 months of this year, and that's not including Fright Fest.
Well, good, because we've not been to the cinema in about 2 months, I don't think.
I was struggling.
The last couple of months have been dog shit.
Yeah, well, movies came out and there was no time to go and see them.
Yeah.
I think the last movie you might have went to see was Halloween Ends, which I refused to go and see. So I don't know if you saw anything after that.
You might be right, actually. You might be right.
So,
yeah, because I've actually taken even the kind of Marvel stuff, which I know you're not a fan of, but I just watched that on fucking Disney now.
Because it comes out like a month after it's in the cinema.
Time. So why bother? But please, Disney, keep up.
Yeah.
Let's Star. Is that right?
I think it falls
Star
under
is some
Star.
Kind of weird channel that Disney Plus have as part of the package over
it's
here.
Not that way in America
where all
though.
These kind of
it's
weird,
bizarre.
obscure kind of movies are popping up.
It's not making any sense to me. All I know is we have Megan this week. I think there's at least another 1 or 2 horror movies before the month is out, and then Infinity Pool is early in February, and Infinity Pool has Alexander Skarsgård, because we have to have there's a Skarsgård in every movie, and it looks fucking incredible. It's got Mia Goth and Alexander Skarsgård in a movie directed by Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg, whose previous movie was Possessor, which was a chef's kiss. I'm looking forward to it. It looks fucking great. And then I think there's about 3 or 4 horror movies out in February. So like there's honestly a deluge coming our way of horror content. And then I think we all saw that Evil Dead Rise trailer. Did you watch it? And that's April.
Yeah.
So we ain't far from that. And that one looks like that one looks like a ton of gore and fun.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm genuinely looking forward to that one. I've got
that one has got a Bazzy's Backdoor Cinema written all over it, but it's technically an Evil Dead movie, which means it could be a return of Baz v Horror, as we come in and once again technically did the franchise. Technically did that franchise.
Let's wrap this bitch up. Although
again,
that theoretically then we'd have to do Ash versus the Evil Dead as well.
That's a whole TV show though.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Although I would do it in a second. I fucking love Ash vs Evil Dead.
Do you know, I have never watched anything beyond season 1. I think Colette bought me the first season on Blu-ray, and I loved it. Like, way more than I loved the films.
Of course.
And I don't actually know why. I think if I'm going back to it, I think I would have to go back and watch it from the beginning.
Well, the episodes are only 25 minutes long, so fucking
the first
hammer
season
right
I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, it's really good. Right to the very end, it's excellent. I all the way through it, it was really, 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 really good. It never really lost its footing at all for me. And one of the biggest kind of like crimes against a TV show is the fact that it didn't get its 4th season, because the 3rd season was fucking wicked, and then they were like, nope. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about more Evil Dead, which is always fun as well. So plenty of stuff coming up, and of course we'll throw in the old ad hoc true crime thing as it pops up, because we are, that is our want, Baz.
That's it. We'll do what the fuck we want.
Of course. I mean, like, when have we not? We
danced the beat of our own drum. Well, I didn't for about 8 years. I had to watch whatever you told me to watch. So nowadays, just do what we want.
Well, just like you've earned it. I found this easier to get you to record with me when I'm like that. What do you want to record, as opposed to how do you feel about Czechoslovakian cinema?
And a 16-week run. You know what I mean? Taking it from the early 30s up into the 2000s.
Don't give me ideas. Right, say goodbye to the listeners, please, Baz.
Oh, I'll do, folks. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please go and check out Barbarian. It's a great movie. And if you're in the UK and you're watching it on Disney Plus, go and check out Banshees of Inisherin in the menu as well, because they're very decent films. Very, very decent. And I don't know when I'll speak to you probably soon.
Excellent. Ladies and gents, thanks very much for checking out this episode. As always, keep your eyes peeled. The next Podcast Under the Stairs episode will be dropping for you this week. It will be an 88 Films Italian Collection episode. I think is Blood and Diamonds is the next one in there before we get to, and Baz will be loving this, the 4K UHD release of Cannibal Holocaust, which is going, like once again, yay. Which I suppose we should note, Ruggero Deodato died in the last 2 weeks.
He did.
Which was a kind of sad thing for genre fans all over the world, because whether you like that movie or not, it's super fucking important. Super.
It is, and weirdly, it's popping up in the news and all that.
Yeah, oh aye.
And I'm like, I know who this fucking guy is, and I've seen these films.
I've seen that movie. Yeah.
Interestingly, I was I've not got an Ultra HD telly or anything like that, but I know that I've been looking, there was Blu-ray releases come out, and I think I've got the Shameless DVD release of it.
Yep.
But that's not the film that we watched from the review way back in year 1.
Yep.
I think you had found me the nearest you could get to the
right.
full movie.
Yeah.
And whatever Blu-ray it was I was looking at, it was a fairly recent release, claimed that it was fully uncut and all this kind of stuff.
Only the
Everything
Americans
else
ones
seemed to-
are, like, in the UK, that's still technically cut. So even that 4K UHD is still not fully uncut. Only the ones you get from America are. However, before you go buying anything, I have that Blu-ray that Shameless put out, and I now have a doubler, so that one will be bringing its way to you, my friend.
Boom!
Save you the money and play into your theory that if I just keep upgrading my releases, you will just keep getting the ones I don't need anymore.
That's it. I will essentially get all of those shelves full of Blu-rays. Do you know what? Weirdly, I do feel like I want to go back and watch Cannibal Holocaust again.
You
Do know that?
should. I think you should. I think
Really
now
do.
you've
I know I
experienced it.
swore blind I would never watch that film
Yeah.
again, but
I think you get a
No, no.
greater appreciation for it. I genuinely do.
yeah, I think I would.
Yeah.
I'm-
Just
that
don't
was-
watch it
that was
hungover.
year one.
Yeah,
that
but
was,
you were
that was year
also
one Basby horror.
horribly
Holy
hungover when
shit.
you watched
Yeah.
that movie, which is
Yeah, that's
not
a
a good
terrible
idea.
idea.
Never be hungover and watch Cannibal Holocaust. It's just a terrible idea. Terrible idea. Never do it. Ladies and gents, this is the podcast Under the Stairs, closing out what we do for you. Thanks very much for checking out this episode. If it's on the YouTubes, make sure you subscribe. We're so close to that number of 100 when I can actually customize the URL. Seems like a novelty, but apparently that's a thing. If you're listening to us on any of the podcatchers, which either display video or just the audio, also make sure you subscribe there as well, and show us some love on the Instas and the Twitters at TPutsCast for both. Until the next time we speak to you, wherever you are, whatever the time zone is and whatever you're up to in this big bad world of ours, please take care of yourselves out there. This is Duncan McLeish broadcasting live from Under the Stairs, and I am signing off.